Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of New Earth Practices. You have to forgive me, I'm a little bit stiff. I actually sustained a knee injury a couple of days ago, and so my knee is pretty swollen. So I'm just kind of being very delicate. I have a delicate constitution right now. Please do not send any healing to me, okay? Spirit has got this, so just have faith that Spirit is taking care of me, okay? So usually when I get down with an injury, a couple years ago I had an ankle injury when I was camping, and I was basically saying the same thing. So guys, just don't send me any healing energy. Spirit has got this, all right? So like I said, if you see me kind of being a little stiff with my movements today, that's the reason why. But I really wanted to do this broadcast today, so I am here with all of you, and I'm looking forward to what we're going to be talking about today. And what we are going to be discussing here is life mechanics, looking into the ether, looking into thought, and looking into matter. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do our beginning practice. All right. So what I'd like you all to do right now is just get yourselves into a nice, relaxed, comfortable posture, making sure the body is free of any tension. And you can either have your hands on the center of your chest or on your lap, whichever you prefer. All right. And we're just going to take a slow, deep breath in. And exhale, clearing it out. And just relaxing and breathing normally. And now we're going to start off with some heart rate variability breath. Okay, so this is just nasal breathing. So breathing into the nose, breathing out through the nose. Again, just adding 2 seconds to your breath. So you want to do 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out, or 5 seconds in, 7 seconds out. Whichever you prefer, whichever you feel you're at the level of doing, feel free to do. We're going to do some heart rate variability now. Okay, so taking a deep breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so if you want to continue the breath, please feel free to continue the breath. The next part, we're going to work with the peripheral vision. Okay, so we're just going to take our index fingers, and we're just going to move them far to the left and far to the right, just so they're at the edge of our peripheral vision, and we're just focusing on the index fingers in the peripheral vision, right? So even though you're looking ahead through your full view of vision, you're just bringing your attention to the 2 index fingers at the edge of your peripherals, and just give it attention now. Okay. Now I want you again to bring your awareness to 360 degrees. Okay, so we're not really imagining this. We're basically just bringing our awareness to a 360 degree vision. It's that you are aware of what is behind you. You are aware of what is beside you. You are aware of what is in front of you. So just hold that awareness 360 degrees now. And now if you want to continue forward and staying in the right brain, because we are entering a low idle state, just continue the heart rate variability breathing. Okay, this is up to you if you want to continue and continue to stay in the right brain. Just continue the heart rate variability. Okay, and that will keep you in that lower idle state. That'll keep you in the subtle state, and you're just going to go deeply into silence. Of course, the goal also is to keep your body very still and just to feel empty within. You are empty of ego. You are empty of ignorance. And the only essence that's filling you is the essence of spirit. So this is what we do, continuing on, should we want to, and go deeper into the right brain, okay? But I just take you guys up to that point. The rest is up to you, just to maintain yourself in that right brain state, okay? Okay, so that is our beginning practice. Some people are asking, oh, Brad, how did you hurt your knee? It was a really stupid reason, guys. It's not that I went snowboarding. It's not that I skateboarded or anything of that nature. I was basically just at my park, and I had my boots on. I had some heavy boots, and all I was doing was just crossing my leg over my other leg, and I was actually on my phone just talking to people on Telegram. And I just stayed like that for about 10 to 15 minutes, completely oblivious to that my knee was actually getting really strained from being in that posture, but I wasn't even in the body, you could say. I was just basically focusing on the phone. And then after a few minutes, I just uncrossed my leg and like, oh, God, okay, there's a lot of stiffness in my right knee. Okay, this was actually on Sunday. And so here we are on Thursday, and knee is a little bit swollen. So it was something very, very stupid. It was just the idea that I had heavy boots on, and I was just basically crossing my leg over the other and just staying in that posture for much longer than I should have. I lost track of time, and then that led to my knee just getting all stiffened up. Okay, so it was bad posture, you could say. I was not paying attention to the body whatsoever, and that's what happened. And like I said, I was there for 10, 15 minutes. And then, I certainly felt the effects of it. So I'm just giving it a rest today. It'll get better. It'll get better in the next couple of days. I'm just putting some ice on it and elevating the leg. And, of course, working with the healing code cards, working with spirit. And it's going to get better. So it's okay, guys. I got this. Yeah, maybe I should have said snowboarding. Snowboarding would be much more of a cooler. Yeah, I was doing this, cool 180, and I was doing rotating, and then all of a sudden, poof, I fell and hurt my knee doing snowboarding. That's exactly what I did. That'd be a much more cooler story, right? Okay. So anyways, guys, let's go ahead and get started with New Earth practices today. We are going to take Q&A here in a little bit. Now, again, some people are still confused and thinking that I'm talking about current events and New Earth practices. Okay, guys? That's not what this webcast is about, everybody. Okay? When I talk about current events, that's for New Earth Insights on Tuesdays, and that can also be used for New Earth TV Live on Fridays. Okay, so if you guys are here for current events, you're on the wrong day. Okay, also tomorrow, I won't be doing New Earth TV Live. I'm going to be doing it on Saturday instead. Okay, so on Saturday will be a special day for New Earth TV Live. So now, if you guys have questions about current events, tune in on Saturday. Okay. That's not what New Earth practice is about. New Earth practice is about your inner development. New Earth practice is about self-realization. It's about the mechanics of spirit, the mechanics of reality, mechanics of life, just as we're going to be talking about today. Okay, so just wanted to let you guys know, in case you're tuning in here for the first time, so, oh, Brad is going to talk about current events. Nope. Saturday. Okay. All right, so we're going to get started with today's broadcast, and I have a slide here that I'm going to go over, and we're going to look a little bit more deeper into ether, into thought, and into matter. So ether is the substance in which all matter comes into being. The process is similar to the study of cymatics. Ether represents the proverbial fluid of life, shaped through the frequency of thought producing form. I'm going to go over these statements after I'm done reading them out here. The atoms representing the symbiotic manifestation of thought, patterned through its own frequency, inaudible to the ear, that assembles the vibratory signature of material, substance, manifested through the ether, then solidified into a material object. All constructs of matter are assembled through the frequency of thought, conducted through the ether. The matter produced represents the assemblage of atoms that are variable to the matter construct intended. Any living form you can perceive is created in this way, through the ether by thought manifested as matter. You could see the pattern of atoms assembling matter through frequency, similar to buzzing flies moving at phenomenal speeds to assemble geometric frequencies producing material constructs. Okay, so this is pretty technical, but I'm going to break it down sentence by sentence here, okay? Ether is the substance in which all matter comes into being. So basically we could look at the idea of ether being this kind of invisible fluid, right? We cannot see it. Our own atmosphere is comprised of this ether. Our own sun is comprised of ether entirely, right? This is why I've talked about the true nature of the sun in a New Earth Teachings episode, okay? And that the sun basically acts as a combination of radiation and ether, right? So the fluid, the invisible fluid would represent the nature of the ether of the sun. So the ether itself is where everything can be shaped. It's kind of like the proverbial clay of reality. So the process is similar to the study of cymatics. Okay, cymatics is all about sound vibration. It's all about looking into the study of vibrational waves and seeing how form can be produced through the power of sound. Ether represents the proverbial fluid of life shaped through the frequency of thought producing form. So it is through the power of thought that is the patternizer. The thought is what is commanding the atoms. So the thought commands the atoms within the ether to produce form, to create material. The atoms representing the symbiotic manifestation of thought patterned through its own frequency, inaudible to the ear. So right now we have countless vibrational sound frequencies that are percolating, that are taking place right now, that basically constitutes our entire reality. Every aspect pertaining to material, pertaining to form, is vibrating at a certain degree of sound harmonic resonance, right? So your own body has all kinds of different vibratory frequencies being broadcast right here, right now. The environment that you're in, if you have a table by you, if you're on your computer screen here, if you're looking on your phone, if you're in a room or you're outside, there is an endless symphony of vibratory frequency that is maintaining this hologram that we call physical reality. Okay, so the atoms assemble the vibratory signature of material substance manifested through the ether, then solidified into a material object. Okay, so this is again what a lot of the ancients knew. This is what the sages knew. This is why they were able to just basically, through a thought, manifest any form of food that they wanted to. They could, through a thought, just transport themselves from one dimension to another, going from the top of a mountain down to the valley, just with a single thought, right? They're able to think that thought, and through the nature of the ether, transport themselves directly from the top of the mountain down to the bottom of the valley, just through the perfection of that thought that aligned to the vibratory signature of the space that they now occupy, from the top of the mountain down to the bottom of the valley. All constructs of matter are assembled through the frequency of thought, conducted through the ether. Okay? So all constructs, everything that we know, everything we see, smell, taste, touch, and hear, is all a product of the ether, right? And it's thought that is being the patternizer. And through thought, the atoms themselves materialize reality through the ether. So the ether represents substance. The matter produced represents the assemblage of atoms that are variable to the matter construct intended. Okay, so again, you're just kind of like looking at these little flies that are buzzing about, and that's one form of analogy. And I do have a video here that I'll be looking into, sharing with you guys here to demonstrate this idea. But it's kind of like looking at these buzzing flies going at phenomenal speeds and patternizing matter, forming it into harmonic geometry, which again is also mentioned through the study of cymatics. So the buzzing flies moving at phenomenal speeds to assemble geometric frequencies, producing material constructs. Okay, so next thing we're going to do right now is I'm just going to open up this video to share with you guys. This is on YouTube, and it's from a fellow named Bruspup. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play. Okay, so we're seeing this resonance experiment. Again, this is the example of cymatics. So you see a sound plate here, and it's being produced through certain frequencies. So 1033 hertz there. This one's 1820 hertz, and we're just blasting a frequency, and you see how the sand is moving at those kind of phenomenal speeds, right? Kind of like buzzing flies. Well, this is just giving a very simple example about how our thoughts patternize reality. So we're seeing all these different frequencies, creating all these different geometrics, right? And just watch how those grains of sand are just moving when those frequencies blast them, right? That frequency would represent the nature of thought. And through thought comes the patternization, right? So the sand and the soundboard itself would be an example of the ether working with thought through frequency to patternize matter in a geometric alignment. But again, just watch the little grains of sand or salt, whatever they're using. Sand or salt. But just watch, look how it moves. Right? Look how quickly it moves. Just through the changing of vibration. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. The grains of sand or the grains of salt forming these beautiful geometries through the resonance that is being emitted through the board. This is exactly how the ether works. It's exactly how our thoughts interact with the ether. This is why we have form. We are those thoughts. We are those very thoughts that bring about these geometrical shapes and forms that make up the building blocks of our material universe. Cymatics is showing you how it's done right here. And again, just looking at how quick all of that is, just the beauty of watching those, I guess it's grains of sand or grains of salt, whichever it is, and just seeing that materialize the beautiful geometry that makes up reality. Okay, that's how it's done, everybody. Right? Cymatics gives a really good example of how we're able to truly materialize everything, but how everything is just materialized right here, right now. There's nothing new being materialized tomorrow. There's nothing new being materialized yesterday. It is all a constant frequency. This is why we know that there really is no past or future. Because if there was a past and there was a future, you'd be seeing new things being added to your reality pertaining to this patternization of the ether through the power of thought making matter. But it doesn't work that way. Everything is now. Everything is here. So again, your desk is here, your monitor is here, your computer is here, your house is here, your car is here, right? People are here. It's all happening right now at the same time. So this is again why we really just need to get past this idea of a past and a future, because everything is available to us right now. This symphony of thought being played through the ethers that have patternized this entire creation is available to us right now. You are not going to experience anything new tomorrow. Right? So this is the whole idea. There is no tomorrow. Everything is simultaneously coexistent. That's the beautiful thing regarding life mechanics. Life is eternal. Life is infinite, as I've been talking to you guys about. When we're looking into the beauty of life, right, we just put ourselves in a box. We confine ourselves in thinking that, oh, maybe something new. Maybe I'm here to learn something new on earth. And the answer is no, you're not. You're just here to remember who you are. You're also here to remember to take off the layers of yourself that you know do not belong. Right? So this is where we're clearing out those conflicts. And this is where we are completely assembling ourselves into realizing that eternal life is here and now. Okay? We get too caught up with the confines of linear transition. We get too caught up with yesterday or last week. We get too caught up with tomorrow and next week. But we're not here. We got to step out of that box. So that's what this is showing you, is that creation is this continual symphony, simultaneously coexistent with everything. And the entire world is about music. The entire world is about math. The entire world is about vibration and frequency and energy. And through the ether, everything is patternized because these frequencies are constantly playing. They're constantly playing through the mind, which represents the symphony of thought. Thought is like that symphony. Thought is that pattern, right? It's that beautiful music that is inaudible to us until we actually start tuning in a lot more deeper. When we are tuning into the greater depth where we can actually feel the rotation of the earth, we can actually feel it rotating within ourselves because we've gone so deeply into the low idle state. And then we start hearing frequencies, right? The frequencies of nature. We can start hearing the frequencies of plants, the frequencies of trees, the frequencies of water, the frequencies of the clouds, everything. We're starting to feel the frequencies of people. We're starting to feel the frequencies of material reality. And that's what happens when we go deeper and deeper and deeper into the greater depths of pure consciousness. This is what God shows us altogether, is that I will show you all of this because this is already yours. You will be aware about how everything works throughout the entire universe, throughout all of creation, when you come to me. So just as we've seen here through this demonstration of cymatics, about looking into the nature of life mechanics, how everything is simultaneously coexistent. You're not here to learn anything new, because everything is already available to you. Everything that you can think of, everything that you can imagine, every experience that you feel, you have the ability to grasp is already here. So we're just playing a little game here in this physical body where we experience these things day by day, right? Now we go to another country. Now we take up a new practice. Now we start learning a new skill in that sense. But again, all of it's already here, right? You're basically just trying to teach your conscious self about all of these faculties of vibrational resonance that already exist here in this universe, right here, right now. You're never going to encounter anything unmade in material world, right? When you're going beyond the creation to the creative, you're basically just looking at it like it's dreamless sleep, right? You're looking at absence when you're going beyond creation, because that is God's true domain. God's true domain is existing as the creative force, not the creation force, although she governs the creation as well too. God is the agent between ourselves and between God's self, right? It's like a bridge. And this bridge is working together with life, which is mind, mind, which is life, life, which is God. And again, showing us, as I am this, so too can you be. That's the beauty of looking into life mechanics. This is what I've talked about with the nature of eternal life. When you let go of living outside, you're no longer in a box. You're no longer walking the upside down pentagram path. You're now living inside, because inside holds all the secrets. This is why we're so fascinated by all these things, because we keep looking at it from an outside perspective. if we've made new discoveries in archaeology, if we've found a new abandoned city, right? We found some ancient relics in that way. We get excited because we're looking at that from the outside perspective. But when we're looking inside, this has already been here. This is already here. I can see all dimensions to which that represents. Whenever we look at the nature of time, we're just looking at different dimensions. We're looking at different pockets. We're looking at the honeycomb to which all reality is. And so we look into these honeycomb cells and look into different quote-unquote time periods. But when you're truly inside, you're experiencing all of that now, and you come with it with great clarity, right? If I wanted to look at, for example, ancient Egypt, back when it was alive and well and flourishing as a jungle rather than a desert, that's available right now. That's a pocketed dimension. And I can go in there through my consciousness and observe that. It's already here. It's already now. Nothing is ever forgotten in the eyes of creation. So this is where you realize that everything is simultaneously coexistent. Everything's existing at once. It's a constant symphony of frequencies that goes on and on and on. It's like looking at those beautiful geometries and just seeing more of these patterns emerge more and more, just as you go into the nature of experience of these patterns and looking into all of these different dimensions, right? So you basically can recall through memory what your day was like yesterday. Okay, maybe I went on a road trip. I went down to the lake, and I had a beautiful day at the lake yesterday. Okay, so the experience is already there. But I can go into meditation. I can go into that very space to where you were, and I can look at that very point in time to where you were, because all that is a dimension. Time is just a marker of a specific dimension representing a certain frequency or frequencies that we are able to align to and look at. Okay? I cannot, of course, step into there and create an intervention with your own experience, but I can certainly observe it, right? Because everything is here and now. Everything is simultaneously coexistent. So this is what I'm attempting to share with you guys, is that now you know that life is eternal. That even when you leave this physical body, you're still here. You're still you. You're not just going to suddenly transform into this beautiful light being and thinking that you have all knowledge. No, you stay where you're at. And you can do a lot of work within the spirit world as well too. You can learn a lot from masters in the spirit world as well too. But many people don't, because even when they leave their body, they still feel that they're part of the earth plane in some way. They still live an earth-like life, even in their astral body or their transient body, because that's all they know. That's basically what their conscious self is aware of. And so they will create the patterns of continuing to live within an astral-based earth, where there's cities and there's jobs and there's people, right? And you're interacting with people just the same. It's just a thinner layer that goes a little bit past the physical to where people start to live on this astral earth, and they still have lives, right? They have families and they have friends and they have jobs and they have careers and they can travel the world and all that stuff. And that's done in the astral, right? It's a direct, I guess the best way you could put it, is a direct replication of the earth. But in a way it is the earth. It's just the earth in a different astral realm. It's in the astral realm itself, and it operates slightly differently from the physical. So that would be, in that sense, almost like a type of lower astral state, right? It's people that are very much still asleep. They know that their physical body is gone, but they're still in this earth-like reality. They're still struggling because that's what they're putting forward in their conscious self. Their conscious self is still thinking that they owe money, or their family member is mad at them, or anything of that nature, and they're still deciding to go through a reality that represents that reflection. But once they snap out of it and realize, oh my goodness, there's so much more here. Now there's guides, now there's helpers, now there's runners that can come to them and help them to see reality on a much more deeper level. And that's the same thing with here, guys. It's the same thing with physical reality. Physical reality is not omitted from that kind of help. Okay? But what I always say is go to the higher self, go to the soul, go to God. That's where you want to go to first, because that is the all-knowing. And once you're there, now if you want to bring about a guide, that feel who they can help you in regards to helping you understand a lot more of these things relating to life, God will send one to you. Right? A runner will be sent. You have to, again, understand the very, very important principle here. You hold dominion over all things. That is a very literal statement, but we don't know that. We think that we're just this tiny human being, we're in this physical body, and we're just in a box because we're looking at yesterday and tomorrow. We're looking at all the outside happenings. We're looking at all these things that are happening in our world pertaining to agendas and pertaining to situations and circumstances, and that's all we feel there is. You have chosen to limit yourself. You have chosen to put yourself in that confining box and paint the walls to give the impression of thinking that this is your reality. And maybe sometimes you'll make that box a little more spacious, but it's still a box. But then when you're going through great suffering, that box is going to compress. And now you stay inside that suffering. What I am attempting to share with you guys is to let yourself break free of the box. And this is where we go inside. This is where we are actually knowing that we are that of eternal life. We are infinite, eternal beings, immortal, never dying, never ending, never born, never beginning. Right? The time itself is just a dimension. That's all it is. It's a dimension of the mind. We have many dimensions of time. We have many dimensions of space. We have dimensions of mind that are infathomable through words, because the mind is able to carry this interface of our experiences together for as far and as long and as greater in duration that we wish, until we're ready to transcend the mind. And that's where you come into the creative. And the creative is no more different than being in deep sleep. That's the creative. That is where God's abode is. It is in the creative. It's not in the creation. God is in the creation, of course, because God's blueprint is everything that represents creation. But if you're looking into the heart of God, the essence of God, you go into the creative. You go into the non-dual. You go into the right brain, where everything is seen. And you even go beyond that, into where everything feels still, everything feels silent, everything just feels purely empty, because you have completely freed yourself. You have completely liberated yourself. Well, what is that feeling like when I feel free? What is it? Do I lose all of my experiences? No. No, you're fully in remembrance about every single experience you've ever had. But then how am I free? We no longer see our life based on experience. We see ourselves now in stillness. We see ourselves now in silence. We see ourselves now in one with creative. You will never ever lose your experiences. You will never ever lose the idea of memory, right? Memory itself is just a technicality. But it's the experience itself. It's the experience of memory, right? Because you hold that experience, it will always be with you. When we liberate ourselves, we are no longer holding on to the impermanent reality of mind. It's like a child that, again, gets out of their sandbox. They're done playing with all of their toys, and they decide to come out of the sandbox, and they go back into the creative. They go back into the absence. It's like deep sleep. And when we're there, just like we fall asleep at night and we go into deep sleep, we have absolutely an experience of absence. That doesn't mean we've lost ourselves. We've just been in the experience of absence. So when I wake up from that, and I said, yeah, I had about 8 hours of sleep last night, but I had absolutely no recollection of what I dreamed of. I was completely in deep sleep. Great. You were in the creative. You were with God. You were in that silent, empty, stilled domain to where God resides. And that's who you truly are, right? We can play around with mind all that we want. And some people want to come here. And they want to go, I want to play with mind for a bit. Go for it. I want to be on Earth. I want to go to other planets. I want to build spaceships. I want to go and travel the galaxy. Go for it. go right ahead. You can do it. Nothing's going to stop you, as long as your experience permits you to do that, right? If you know 100% that you can jump on a spaceship and travel the world or travel the galaxy, right? That's an experience you could have. But nonetheless, it's just all of us playing with mind, looking at different civilizations, looking at different star cultures, star nations in that way. These are all just different dimensions, right? Everything's just a big honeycomb. You can look at the mind as a gigantic honeycomb with all of these cells, and all of these cells representing different dimensions, different experiences altogether, but it's all simultaneously coexistent. Okay? So that is what I wanted to share with you guys today about the nature of life mechanics, okay? And looking into the nature of the ether, looking into what thought does, looking into how material itself is formed, and how it's all simultaneously coexisting right now, and that there is no yesterday, there is no tomorrow, there's only right here and right now, for such things are just different dimensions that we have access to once we learn how to go into those types of frequencies to explore those dimensions, right? We can look at that as the Akashic Records. We can look at that as the Book of Life. We can look at that again as just going into different experiences that are all simultaneously taking place right here, right now. All right? So let me just go through some of the questions here. So, there we go. Okay, this is from, let me just go back up a little bit more. And thank you guys for your contribution. I appreciate it. So this one is from Peace. Peace says, I did experience it. It was pentagon shape. It appeared after the burst of light. I felt God presence. My experience turned from ecstasy to fear. Okay. Well, you're only in fear because you still do not know God, right? You're still seeing yourself as a human. You're looking at this from human eyes, Peace, right? And that's where we get scared. If we just basically have this incredible revelation and we have this powerful experience, this burst of light comes together, and it's like I could feel the essence of God with me, and I was terrified because I'm still seeing myself as this. I'm still seeing myself as a mortal. I'm having a mortal experience experiencing God. The only way you will truly understand God's divinity is when you step out of being a mortal, when you step out of being a human, when you realize that you yourself are spirit, right? We can call ourselves the children of God, right? The progeny of the divine, for that is what we are truly. But you have to live as that. So really what I would suggest is that you're learning to live inside. You're experiencing this from the inside, because then it's not scary at all. Because you realize that from inside, I am the infinite. I am eternal. I am God within. But if I look at these with human eyes, I'm going to be terrified, because the physical human body and the physical human mind can't conceive of the infinite. It's just impossible. The way that we are oriented in the physical body right now, you cannot perceive the infinite. You cannot perceive that essence of true greatness that God is. Every time I've experienced God, it's always been in here, right? It's never been with these eyes. It's never been in this form. Whenever I've been with God, it is spirit with spirit. Am I afraid of God? Why would I be? Why would I be afraid of my parent? Wouldn't make sense. Are you afraid of your mom? Are you afraid of your dad as a newborn baby? No, I don't think so. Right? You cry to your mom when you're hungry. Your mom comes and she feeds you. Why would you be afraid of your mom? So it's the same thing here, but looking at such a grandiose degree that God sees you as perfection. And you do not yet see yourself as that perfection piece. You see yourself as imperfect. Because you see yourself as imperfect, you cannot grasp the nature of God's love when that comes to you. Because we're seeing it again through the human perception. We're looking at these things through a body-mind. And to truly know God is to feel it in here. It's to be with the heart. It's to be inside. You will not be afraid. You will be joyous. You will feel amazing. You will feel wonderful. You will feel perfection, because that is how God sees you. God will never blink you out of existence. Okay? If that was the case, God never would have created you in the first place. God would have never have created all of this in the first place, to suddenly just blink you out of existence. This has to do with old doctrinal religious fears or existential fears. Think, well, if God's so powerful, he could just blip me out of existence. He could, but he would never do that. Why would he do that? He would not be perfect if he did such a thing. What is the reason for blipping you out of existence? Well, maybe he doesn't like me. Well, that's an insecure God, and that's not representing the infinite right there. You're looking at a man-made God. You're looking at a conqueror God. You're basically looking at the old religious reptilian gods, right? That's the whole idea. You're looking at draconian aspects. You're not looking at the true nature of God. You're not looking at the true love, the true perfection of God. Because that God would never ever think of blinking you out of existence. You are perfection to God. So why would we need to blink out perfection? Perfection creates perfection. It is flawless. You see, this is us putting our own confused human mind towards God, towards the Creator, towards the divine, because we don't get it. We try to look for it intellectually. You can't. Intellect has no place in your union with God. Has no place at all. It's too stupid. So this is why we're learning to let it go. Minimalize the intellect when you are following such a path. When you are going inside and you want to transform yourself and you want to change and you want to shift yourself and saying, I really just want to live in harmony, and stop using the intellect. Stop being a human. Be spirit. That's who you are. This is just a wardrobe. This is just a canvas. It's a costume that you're wearing. And so it's like a person that's just going to work in this outrageous Halloween costume. And they haven't even taken it off. They've just basically seen themselves as the identity of the Halloween costume. Right? They're a big scary clown or something like that. Like, what are you doing? You're at work here. Why are you dressed like this? Why are you acting like this? This doesn't make any sense. Well, pretty much the same thing. If you're going to God, why are you wearing a wardrobe? Be bare naked with your soul. That is how you know God. And you will know God and you will feel that pure love. Fear is only a human concept. God does not know of fear. Fear is a human invention. It's what we have put forward. God sees everything relating to creation as perfection. We have come in and we see things in duality. Right? That's the true nature between Adam and Eve. It's just representing duality. It's representing polarity consciousness. And that's what humanity has been given, to experience things in this way of polarity consciousness, so that through that diminishing of feeling that there is no perfection, you are eventually going to discover perfection by realizing your imperfections and casting them off. They are excess clothing that does not need to be worn. Okay? So I hope that makes sense, peace. Do not fear God, because fear is something of your own invention, not God's. Okay? Very good. Yep. Erica says time is an illusion. Yes, it is, of course. Like I said, time is just a marker that represents the nature of all dimensions that exist simultaneously, coexistent together with us right now. Okay? What you guys are looking at your screen on right now, talking to me right now, is just a dimension. Okay? It's a dimension that I exist in. Okay? So if you go into very deep meditation, you could observe me in this space, because this represents a certain frequency that can be aligned to once you understand that nature. Humanity has not yet gone that far. But at some particular point, people will be more aware of this consciously, and they'll be able to reproduce it technologically as well too, with quantum science, with consciousness science, where you can basically just look at the signatures of vibration and now just view them on a screen. And you're able to look at all of these different instances pertaining to different dimensions that represent events. And this is what we could consider looking at our true history. All we need is their vibratory signatures. And then there will be ways to work together with vibratory signatures like a symphony. If I play this symphony, if I play this band of music, and now on the screen appears an event. Oh, well, here we go. Here's the birth of Jesus. Here's the birth of the Roman Empire. Right? Here's the Maya. Here's Atlantis. Because I'm aware of the vibrational frequencies that they represent. I can go in, I can go through meditation, I can obtain those particular frequencies once they become somewhat intellectualized to my understanding, and I can put this on this screen because it is a technological device. And now I can see these things. It may come even further where you may be able to be an observer of these vibrational dimensions, where you're just invisible in the background because you're layered by the dimension that you exist in. So it's like two fabrics of dimension viewing each other. Okay? The dimension you're viewing may not be aware of you, but you're aware of that dimension. Right? This is exactly what a lot of the star families do. When they come down to Earth, they are veiled in their own dimension. They're keeping that frequency intact, and they're just simply looking as spectators. They're looking as observers on the planet. Perhaps to people, again, that they feel personally drawn to, or that they're assigned to. It's the exact same technical way. Okay? And it can be done technologically, absolutely. It'll be a ways down the road before we get there, but we will get there. Angela says, but what if you haven't got what you want right now, in the now moment? Then it comes after a length of time, is it not in the now? Everything is now. You have never experienced yesterday, Angela. You've never experienced yesterday, you've never experienced tomorrow. If I'm telling you right now to look at all this, what are you doing? You're looking at this right now. If you hear a knock on the door and you get a parcel, and you grab a hold of that parcel, you're looking at it right now. Oh, but Brad, I have memory. Okay. If you have memory, when are you looking at it? I'm looking at memory right now. Memory, again, is just a device. It's a technicality. It's an aspect of mind. Right? It's a convenience. So, I'm picking up headphones. I put them down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I could think that in the past I was picking up headphones and I was putting them down because I have the memory of it. But as I'm pulling up that memory, aren't I looking at that right now? I'm looking at that memory right now. Do you see? You can never go beyond the now moment. You can't, because there's nothing else here. You have memory, but memory is just that technicality that you're observing right now, because you have the experience of that. And that experience grants memory through this instrument. And so here I am 10 seconds ago picking up headphones and putting it down. That's what I'm seeing in my memory right now. But I'm looking at that memory now. You have never experienced a yesterday. You have never experienced a tomorrow. You have never experienced 1 second in the past. You have never experienced 1 second in the future. It's all here. It's all now. Memory is not exempt from that true understanding. Everything exists now, simultaneously coexistent through the infinite honeycomb that represents the nature of all dimensions, all experiences, all frequencies, all vibrations, all at once. You've never experienced the past. You've never experienced the future. You never will. It's all dimensions. It's all experiences happening right now. Okay? That's the idea. When you're talking about having gotten what you want right now, of course you will, right? So let's say, again, we use that as an example. Yesterday I was able to go to the store, but I wasn't able to find out the food that I want. Okay? So that, again, is an experience. Today, right now, I'm walking into the grocery store and I go down that aisle and there's the item I need. And I'm experiencing that right now. You see? So there's an experience of when it did not happen, and now there's the experience that it is happening. But you're only looking at that experience of not happening as memory. Everything is a stream, right? It's that river that just keeps flowing. And we're on that river. That's the now stream. Right? So this is the whole idea. You cannot look at the idea of a yesterday or tomorrow without associating it with memory. But you're still looking at that memory right now. So I hope that's clear to you. Okay? Let's see here. Okay, let's just go down here a bit more. George just talks about certain things about Earth being a focal point right now of an empire and Pleiadian alliance battling over control of Earth. You're just looking at dimensions, George. That's not the grand scheme of things. You're just looking at another cell contained in the infinite honeycomb called life that is eternal. Okay? We deem it important because we're living on Earth. We're human beings on Earth, and we deem it important. And we're looking at all these different star nations and their involvement with us. And we think that's so important. It's not. It's not important at all. We give it importance based upon that principle, but it's not. What's deeply important is knowing that you are all things. What's deeply important is knowing that you are God. Right? God is the heavenly parent. You and the heavenly parent are one. And that you can go beyond mind, and you're in the creative, and you are still, and you are in union. And now you are all. You are all and nothing. Right? That's what's truly important. These are all just dramas. These are all just plays. These are all just shows. It's flipping the channel on your television screen and seeing all these different dimensions of activity and stories and dramas and blah, 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 blah. None of it matters. None of it is important, other than you branding it as important. Because you are eternal. Are you ever going to die? Never. Are you just going to suddenly blink out of existence? Never. Are you going to be robbed of your experiences? Never. When you see eternal life in this way, you will not care one iota about what's happening on the planet. You won't care. You won't care about what's happening in the galaxy. You won't care about what's happening in any galaxy. You don't care. Because you know it's all a show. It's all a play. It's just me in the sandbox building up sand figures. It's not important. The only thing that's important is God. You. Your union with the divine. Because that's all there is. There's only one living being in this entire scope of what we know reality is, and that is God. It is when you are in union with God that's important. All right? Really think about that, George. Okay? Just some breadcrumbs I want to leave you. Okay. Pierre says, can we always reach the same frequency, or will we always be on different frequencies? Okay, so let's look at your question here, Pierre. Okay, Pierre Esprit Radisson. Right now, I'm holding up headphones. Okay, I want you guys to take this in. Focus for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm putting the headphones down. Okay, so here's a really important practice. Are you guys ready for this? Are you ready? Are you ready? Go into your memory and remember what I just did. Go into your memory and remember what I just told you to remember. Are you able to pull it up? Can you pull it up in your memory? Yeah, Brad, I was able to pull it up, but I was just remembering you doing this. I don't actually remember the countdown. That's okay. That is your perceived reality of that memory event. That memory itself has a frequency. So what you're doing is you're pulling up your own memory of that frequency as an example. And if we are able to, in some particular fashion, receive the quantum frequency of that memory, we will be able to experience it through a device technologically. Because consciously, you're already able to do that. Consciously, you're already able to retrieve that memory. But when I'm doing this, and I'm going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, anyone that is seeing that through their memory has their own unique perception of what I just did. Which means no one's perception is the same. Which means you're looking at an infinite amount of realities that have been gathered into your memory, representing that frequency harmonic that somehow, technologically, you were able to capture. And now you're able to put that up on the screen, saying, here's the memory. Because that's a frequency coherence. That's a frequency vibration. So here it is up on the screen. Brad's doing this with his headphones. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wait a minute. Brad was a little bit slower with the countdown, so now they put their stuff on here. He was like this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. No, that's not right. His hand was like this. 4, 3, 2, 1. And then he held up the headphones. So do you see how we all have our own perceptions of reality? And that you are able to somehow, technologically, take the quantum energy of that vibration and put it up on a screen if we had that technology right here, right? You could do that. The memory is simply giving you your own interpretation of that particular reality that you're seeing up on a screen. And now you're sharing it with everybody else. Hey guys, this is what I remember Brad was doing. Okay? So that's the whole idea. We will only ever perceive what we feel is actually happening in reality. Just like I gave you the demonstration here with the headphones. 1 million people viewing it, 1 million different perceptions of that reality. But they can all agree that Brad held up his headphones and he was doing a countdown. But in the way that that was happening, it was somewhat different, right? It was slower with the countdown. The headphones were up here, the headphones were here, the headphones were over here, my hand was over here, etc., etc. So I'm looking at all these different frequencies of vibration, these different realities from other people's perception of what they saw. Okay? And every single one of them are valid. Doesn't matter if they're correct or incorrect. It's still memory. And memory that you now experience has a frequency. Do you see? That's how it works. But we will only ever see our own perception. We are not really going to see the idea of, oh, here's a collective event. Well, okay, there's a collective event happening. But every single one of us that's seeing that event, we're seeing it through our own perceptions. That's how we're always going to be with the idea of event. Because there's not just some stationary camera up here when there's a situation brewing down below, right? There's a gigantic political race here taking place. Okay, there's just some gigantic magic camera that we can go into that is completely neutral to everybody's perceptions, and we can film it, and now we can put it up on the big screen through the Akashic Records. No. Doesn't work that way. You will only ever perceive an event through your perception. And another person will experience that event through their perceptions as well. Because it's all coming through that example of technicality pertaining to memory. You see? That's why everything relating to life is about perception. We are that camera. And through our memory, that's our perception. And now we may have agreements by saying, yeah, I experienced the same thing, but I was over here. Oh yeah, I experienced the same thing too, but I was over here. Oh, I experienced the other thing over here, but I was up here. I was in a plane looking down. All these vantage points. So people can agree on the same event, but how they perceive the event will always be different. That's the uniqueness of life. As the masters once said, you cannot enter the same river twice. Right? It will always be a different river. And that's the nature of perception. Okay? Very good, guys. So I think we're going to wrap up for today. Thank you again, everybody, for your questions. I will again be back on Saturday for New Earth TV Live, again at a special time at 11 a.m. Pacific, as I get my knee healed up here a bit more. So join me on Saturday for that. Like I said, if you guys do have current event questions, that's the webcast to tune into. And of course, New Earth Insights will be happening next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time as well too. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll speak to you again in another perspective of the now. Take care. Thank you very much for checking out the new channel. Feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And you can check out the websites, newearthteachings.com, where you can order a private session, 3 questions by email, EQ method, and a lot more. And you can also check out healingcodecards.com, where you can grab your mind deck, your body deck, and of course the brand new Body Deck Special Edition. All of these are available in digital editions as well. And you can also get a shirt just like this through healingcodeshop.com, where you can experience the healing codes in apparel form. So feel free to check out these websites. Thank you so much, and I'll speak to you again in the next video. Be well.